Chapter 20 Jealousy When Liu returned to Hua Ting Manor, it was already past 10 in the evening. The entire hall was pitch black, but as soon as he entered, warm lights automatically illuminated the space in response to his presence. He walked up to the second-floor bedroom and gently pushed the door open. The room was not lit. Only faint light spilled in from the corridor and the weak moonlight outside. Liu Yu looked at the slightly raised blanket on the bed and was about to approach when he heard a soft sob. Following that, a suppressed murmur came, "Brother Jingzhou, Fu Jing Zhou." Although the voice was soft, in the quiet of the night, it was incredibly clear. Liu Yu heard it distinctly. Bathed in the dim light, he walked closer. On the large bed, Su Wan Ci lay curled up on her side, the most insecure sleeping posture. Half of her face was buried in the pillow, and the repeated murmurs of Fu Jingzhou reached his ears intermittently. Liu Yu clenched his teeth. His fingers, with prominent joints, tightened almost involuntarily. There was an abrupt cracking sound as his joints shifted. Liu Yu didn't want to hear those 3 words from her mouth anymore. The sound was piercing, scraping against his eardrums. It stirred up all the darkness and hostility he had suppressed for a long time. He almost couldn't control himself as he stepped forward, forcefully lifting her chin and sealing her lips with a fierce kiss. With an almost biting intensity, he ignored her resistance. Wanting to shatter every sound in her mouth, he no longer wanted to hear those 3 words, Fu Jingzhou, during the day. She had obediently let Fu Jingzhou hold her in his arms, but at night, even in her dreams, she couldn't help but yearn for him, since she couldn't let him go, since she loved him so much. Why did she have to provoke him? Su Wan Ci's dream memory lingered on the moment Fu Jingzhou had tried to dominate her at Star Bay. In the dream, she had desperately avoided his control, swatting away his hands as he tore at her clothes. A dull ache on her wrist awakened Su Wan Ci. She suddenly opened her eyes, only to be met with the pitch-black and furious gaze of Liu Yu. For a moment, she was uncertain whether she was in a dream or reality. Instinctively, she pushed against his chest, resisting his kiss, but in Liu Yu's eyes, her reaction looked like rejection. She had seen Fu Jingzhou for a mere moment during the day, and now she couldn't even accept his embrace at night. After only a few days of being officially together, she was already finding it hard to be near him. Did she plan to cast him aside so soon and reconcile with Fu Jingzhou? How could that be possible? The more Su Wan Ci resisted, the more uncontrollable Liu Yu's actions became. With almost brute force, he tore at her clothes, forcing her under him. Su Wan Ci regained some clarity, gripping a corner of the blanket and trying to cover herself. "Liu Yu, I don't want it today." The room remained dark, and Liu Yu couldn't see the trembling of her eyelashes or the sadness in her eyes. "But I do." He heartlessly yanked away the only cover on her body, throwing it to the side. He supported himself on either side of her, his emotions so deep and complex that they were impossible to discern. Yet he whispered near her ear, "Darling, I married you so I could sleep with you." Su Wan Ci closed her eyes, attempting to negotiate with him. "How about tomorrow? I'm really tired today." Liu Yu lifted his lips in a cold arc. In the darkness, Su Wan Ci couldn't make out his expression. She could only feel him forcefully holding her in his arms and the low tone of his voice. "Darling, you don't need to move, just lie there." After saying that, he didn't give her a chance to refuse. He sealed her lips precisely around half an hour later. Su Wan Ci sensed that something was off with Liu Yu's mood today. She wanted to speak, but he didn't give her a chance to say anything. 3 in the morning, Su Wan Ci completely fainted. With a heavy heart, Liu Yu left Hua Ting Manor. Blue Night Bar, 3:30 in the morning. Shen Minghe and Zhou Mu were woken up from their sleep by a phone call. They arrived at the first floor of the bar and saw Liu Yu drinking heavily by the bar counter. The 3 of them exchanged glances. "Liu Yu, why did you call us out so late at night?" Shen Minghe complained. He had just enjoyed the company of a beautiful woman and wasn't in the mood to be summoned by this. "Dog," Liu Yu pushed a pile of drinks towards them and tersely said, "Drink?" Several of them exchanged glances, not knowing what was wrong with him. Drinking at the bar at 3 or 4 in the morning without going to sleep. Zhou walked up to Liu and saw him downing one drink after another, trying to lighten the mood. He quipped, "What's wrong? You're not getting along with your wife, so she kicked you out?" Usually, Liu would retort with a sarcastic comment, but tonight, he seemed to not hear Zhou's words. He remained silent, his eyelids drooping as he continued to down the drinks. The atmosphere among Zhou and the others grew heavier. Yesterday, after Ji Tang returned, they had partied in the bar until nearly noon. But in the evening, around 8 or 9, they noticed Liu frequently checking his phone. It seemed like he was waiting for a call or a message from someone until 9-something. When his phone received no messages, he picked up his phone and car keys without a word and left. Now, only a few hours later, he was sitting here drinking heavily. Shen Minghe and the others could pretty much guess that this was likely related to his newlywed wife. Liu Yu's aura was cold and oppressive, so Zhou and the others didn't dare to offer any advice. They silently accompanied him, drinking with him glass by glass, around 4:30. Liu Yu put down the empty bottle and stood up, leaving the bar with his coat. Shen Minghe and the others were tired and drowsy, but his departure woke them up. They quickly stood up and called after him, "Liu Yu, where are you going?" "To the boxing gym." To find someone to beat up, the three of them exchanged glances. It wasn't the time to think too much. Shen Minghe and the others quickly followed him. Hua Ting Manor. Thankfully, Su Wan Ci had set multiple alarms before sleeping. Blasted by the consecutive alarms, she slowly woke up, her body covered in marks. She turned off the ringing phone and, in the next second, received an incoming call. Sitting up, she answered the call. The voice of Yi Yuning, sounding slightly urgent, came through the phone. "Wan, have you seen the news online?" "What news?" Su Wan Ci's voice was hoarse and she sounded congested. Yi Yuning's brows furrowed. "Wan, are you okay? Are you coming down with a cold?"